Hi, I'm Doug from Streetscape Painting. Thanks for watching today. Right now I'm in a school that we were contracted to paint last year, and now we've been called back to do a touch-up in a small area that was expected to be covered by a piece of cork, and they decided not to extend the cork that far. So we've got a small section about 18 inches long and a little over 1 inch tall where we need to get in with a brush and do a touch-up. And what we want to do is make sure that no paint gets on everything that's surrounding this area of wall. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to show some fine detail brushwork and a couple of tricks that we use on a regular basis as far as masking and with the wet rag. So follow along and I'll take you to the spot that we're going to touch up. Okay, here we are in Le Corridor, or the hallway, where this piece of cork was expected to come all the way over to the door frame. And it didn't. So you can see here there's a missed area where our primer has marked the substrate, and now we got to get this covered up. Now below it is fiberglass wallboard with a little plastic frame. So what I want to do is make sure that no paint gets on this plastic frame, and this is painted trim. So what I want to do is use this wall color and just connect it up right there, just so this looks a little bit cleaner. This is a little bit unsightly with this primer showing through. So I start with my masking tape, and I'm just going to wrap it around there. And what I'm actually going to do is use two pieces. One on the face of it, and I don't have to be too careful with that because I'm also then going to put a second piece of masking tape to give me that clean line. Given that it's such a small space, I want the freedom to move my brush around without being concerned about that. Okay, and then I just take that, fold it down here, and it's, because I've set it in at a horizontal angle, it's given me a nice clean line. Now what I'm going to try and do is, I'll show you the brush. The brush I've got here is a 2.5 inch sash brush, it's called, which means the tip is, it's sort of pointed, it's cut on an angle, and the benefit of that is that when you press it down, this edge, the longer edge, is where I get the clean line. So I'm just going to fill it up with a bit of paint and slip it up in there. I'm doing something you'll notice with my hand, kind of giving it a little wiggle. The reason to do that is it works the paint towards the end of the bristles. And so it's just a very light wiggling motion, and you can try this and you'll see that it does in fact move the paint down a little further. Now, a lot of people often comment to me about using this size of a brush, and they say, well, wouldn't it be easier to use a small brush? Well, although it would be easier to keep a clean line, the problem is that once I've got my brush in on the substrate, I don't want to have to be spending, refilling it frequently, because it's difficult to take the time and hold your hand steady enough as we get it in. And so a little bit larger brush carries more paint, and once you practice with it a bit and get comfortable, you'll find it's really not a big deal. Now at this end where it hits the trim, I don't have a lot of freedom of movement, so what I'm going to do to try and get a nice straight line is actually turn the brush, if you will, backwards. So I would normally apply paint by taking the longer tipped end and turning it this way and going in this direction. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it backwards and put the longer tip end in first. And do that and press down on it, the bristles kind of come out nice and straight. And that's a great way to get into a tight corner. Now, I also want to show you, because I don't know if you can see it from there, but I did just bump the door frame. It's not as smooth as I would like, as well as this little piece of trim. I got a bit of paint there. So I want to show you what I would consider to probably be one of the most important things I ever use, which is just a clean, damp rag. And when you're working, especially with latex paint, oil or oil-based paint, you can still use a rag, of course, but especially the water-based paint, it's very easy to clean up. And it's so handy to have one of these available. And you can just put your finger behind it and give it a fair amount of pressure to wipe off excess paint, as well as even take a scraper and slip it, hang the cloth over top of it, and pull it down. And then once it's pulled flat like this, you can use the scraper to give you a nice clean edge if your paint is not coming out quite as straight as you would have liked. And yeah, so there. And then what I will do is sort of change angles. And so I've done from this side to the center. Now I'm going to do from this side and meet up again in the center. Again, you can be liberal with the paint because I've done the work to put that little bit of tape there. It makes it a lot easier. I'll slip it in, and I'm going to use the same technique here. Turn my brush backwards just to add a little bit more paint. And kind of shimmy it in, and again, wiggle that brush, and it will help force the paint down to the end. And once I've done that, I just would take a little check underneath to make sure it's nice and clean. There's no missed spots. And you can use a fair amount of paint, and in so doing, maybe even get away with only doing the one coat. Okay, so that's it. And ideally what you want to do is get this tape off as soon as possible so that it doesn't mark the surface. As well, if the paint did at all bleed through, then this gives me a chance to wipe it up while it's still damp. So I'm just going to carefully slide this off, and it looks pretty clean. So I think that'll do the job. Great, so here's the close-up view, and you can see the finish, how it was left. Obviously there's some roughness, but it is a textured surface that we're painting. And you'll notice that the plastic frame here is pretty clean all the way along. And we've got it right into the corner. And so it's mission accomplished on this small touch-up on what was a really large paint job. Well, I hope you found that tip helpful, and it's something you can use on your next painting project. So in the meantime, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear comments, questions, or requests for something you'd like to see featured in a video or a blog post. You can get in touch, streetscapepainting.com, or on Facebook, facebook.com/streetscapepainting. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube video channel. And you want to do that because that'll give you a heads up to our next video. And we've got some really exciting things planned, some really fun projects that I think you're going to like. So get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, I'm Doug from streetscapepainting.com. I hope you're having a great time painting and a great day. Thanks.